How is everything? Sorry, I could not ask you the questions. Like it has been like
Go.
intense out here. Oh, good.
Okay, that looks better. All right. Okay, so I think I'm recording. Well, we're going to take a break from the Kumpung Trail this week because I wanted to talk a little bit about the disaster that has unfolded in Nepal. Now, I know a lot of people who watch this channel have either been to Nepal for trekking or mountaineering trips or are thinking about it. And I wanted to talk to a journalist who's on the scene, who's been reporting on it for the last couple of days, to just tell us what is going on right now and also how it might affect anyone who has planned or is thinking about going to trek in Nepal in the near future. Right, over to Rajneesh. So I have Rajneesh Bhandari, a journalist who's been covering the flash floods over in Nepal on WhatsApp right now. Hey, good morning, Rajneesh. How are you doing?
Good morning, DJ. All good. I'm actually in the Trishuli area. One of the worst hit, area of the flash flood out here. It's early morning right now, and I could see some sunrise here. But the situation is quite, quite difficult when I talk with people
Yeah.
out here. Yeah.
Let me just get cut straight to the point. So, Nepal is a place where many outdoor enthusiasts either dream to go or have been on adventures, a lot of trekking, of course, and other sort of outdoor climbing and rafting, all sorts of stuff that goes on there. And I know you have been witness to two major tragedies in the last, 15 years or so with the earthquake and now the flash flood. What are the dangers for people who are kind of considering wanting to go on to Nepal for these kind of adventures?
Yeah, yeah. Like these, like I've been reporting about Nepal for the last 20 years, and as you mentioned, earthquake has been like one of the major challenges, and also the flash flood out here. So anyone coming here, like just making sure in account about the pre-warnings, and also the weather reports. I think that's quite necessary at the moment.
Sure.
But at this time when the flash flood was happening out here, it was not the like rain, right? So it was an ice avalanche, you know.
Yeah.
So it's quite difficult to predict as well with the weather,
Let's
Lise.
let's just try and unpick this one that's just happened, the flash flood. So, as far as I understand, that this is monsoon season in Nepal, and most of the people who go trekking are either going in spring before it starts to get that sort of March, April, May, or they're going in sort of autumn into the winter. Those are the key kind of trekking times. But there isn't a huge amount of tourists in Nepal right now because the season is not right, and they also close a lot of the roads. Monsoons, sort of mudslides, are quite common, but not to this degree, obviously.
Yeah, like this was like quite unexpected as well, and the intensity of damage is very severe. Like I am not being able to go to many places where I want to go and report, and the only possible way was is to go through helicopters. Like, and right now all the helicopters are for rescue only. So um like we I walked for like 2.5 hours yesterday to reach out to new places to talk with people. Like everyone was saying, like they have lost the house, like the land, and
Yeah.
and many of the family members are missing. And coming to your point, like though this is not a major trekking season, but like through this route, like there has been a pilgrimage, out there, and then a lot of like tourists were passing through these roads.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah.
So back in, I think it was about 2012, I think you were with me on a reporting trip we did in this area, looking at the potential of flash floods. And at the time, experts were warning that this valley was particularly dangerous in that it had a history of flash floods that had passed through there. So this is not something that has never occurred before. It has occurred before, but not to this degree. And just explain, because of its relationship, the fact that it's the kind of key route through to China, that it has become much more densely populated. And as we saw back in 2012, people were living in the floodplains and are clearly sort of building schools and communities in areas that the experts were saying were dangerous. Is that right?
Yeah, this flash flood has affected a lot of people, like the Bodegosi that downstreams to Trishuli, which is a major river out here, and there were a lot of like houses built by the river. The place right now where I am right now, it's Trishuli Bazaar, and like in Trishuli Bazaar, just near around the area, I was talking with government official. There was like 2,500 people. This place has a density of 2,500 people, and then there were like lots of houses built along both sides of the river, and also the bridge. Like everything is washed out.
Yeah.
Like and then these villages are losing contact because like the bridge was the only way to for road transportation. So I've not been able to pass to other villages as well because the road
It's
infrastructure is
just
not
not.
yet built. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, no, not yet there. Yeah.
And so you're actually quite close to Kathmandu, are you? Where you are right now, on the road from
So
Kathmandu to the border. Is that right?
yeah, so I'm currently in like it's called the Trishuli Bazaar. It's around like 3 hours drive from Kathmandu. Took me 3 hours, and from here I'm trying to reach out to other places. Like from Rashua to till here, like 45, nearly around like 40 to 45 kilometer of like road is totally damaged. That
Yes,
means
this
like
is
it's quite impossible.
coming down
Yeah,
the
yeah.
road. And just let me just get a sort of sense of the people who are missing or who have died. Obviously, the communities who lived along that valley were affected, the people who were working at the border post. But as far as I understand, the glacier has come down, has crashed down from the Nepal side on the side of Langtang mountain range. And then there's this valley that kind of demarcates the border between China and Nepal, that it's rushed through that to a border point, crashed through that border point, and then sort of turned right and south down and continued down the valley into Nepal and sort of swept away communities as it's gone. So, who were the other people who were caught there? Were these people who were just transiting at the time, either from trekking in Lantang or from coming from the other side, the Kailash pilgrimage, as you said, in Tibet, and sort of coming through Nepal, transporting their way through? Or are they people who on maybe summer holidays where they're spending a bit of time in Nepal and then going through to China? I'm just trying to figure out the kind of demographic of the people who are missing, other than the communities who are clearly who were living there and who've been badly affected.
Yeah, these, as you mentioned, like especially the major hit have been people who are living, by the valley, by the riverside, and also like as you mentioned, like another big number has been like, especially people who were, actually either traveling to or coming back from the Kailash Mansarovar, pilgrimages. It's taken as a big thing in Nepal. So it's not only in Nepal but also in India and other parts as well. And what we have heard is like there were like many international pilgrims as well who were taking that route, like
Okay.
from other countries as well.
And can I check, is this the main route from Kathmandu through into China, or are there other routes that are closer or more convenient?
This is one of the measured routes at the moment. After there's Tatopani route as well. But this has been going, and the sad thing is, like, there was a flash flood last year as well, right? So nearly around a year, and and the breeze, the Miteri breeze between Nepal and China, it was damaged last year, and they had reconstructed, and everything was moving smoothly. So what I know, and what I'm told is, like, hundreds of vehicles are washed away. So we really don't know, like, how many vehicles. These are like buses, these are like micro vans, the private vehicles, and also new EV vehicles as well, that were there at the dry ports. Like, all these have been washed, and we really don't know, and we don't know the maximum, like, how many people have died so far. Like,
Yeah,
they
because
have,
they're only counting them
yeah,
when they find the bodies, right? So we have a missing number
yeah,
and we have a bodies number.
what is number? Yeah.
And what would you expect that to rise to over the coming days, the death count?
It's quite difficult to predict, but I think it's going to be quite high, because looking at the missing numbers, and also looking at the bodies that have been recovered, and
Yeah,
they're still working on it, and the bodies are recovered, like, way down till Chitwan as well, right?
yeah.
You know the location very well. So something that happened here, and the bodies are recovered in Chitwan and Nawalpur as well. So I think the magnitude of disaster is very high. I reported the earthquake, and I think after the earthquake, this is another major disasters
Yeah.
I've been reporting here.
Okay. So just getting back to the trekkers before we finish off. So effectively, this particular type of disaster is likely to happen during monsoon season, during the rainy season. Is that right? And the warmer season. So it shouldn't affect people who are planning to come for trekking holidays. But it might affect people who were planning on going to Nepal and going up into China through through Tibet, that they might have their plans affected. But effectively, the flash floods is something that happens in the summer, outside of the normal outdoor activity season.
That's what the scientists have been saying, and I'm following, the climate science experts
Yeah.
as well. Like, that's what they're saying. Especially, even like 1 degree increase in 1 degree Celsius increase in the temperature is also big number,
Yes.
especially in the glaciers, and we have a lot of glaciers. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So just to be careful, like, get the data and all those things. It's I think quite important, and also understanding the pre-warnings. I think it's quite important when we're traveling through the monsoon out here.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I've always been warned that monsoon season is not a good time to visit Nepal, because of the monsoon, because of the dangers of traveling on the roads. Because obviously, once you get up to some sort of altitude, then the temperatures aren't too bad. But traveling around the country at this time of year is quite perilous, or can be quite
Yeah, yeah.
perilous.
Yeah, but for adventures and, like, people who love, hiking and trekking, I think, like, the monsoon also brings a kind of different weather, where you could see everything green. Like, I've been
Yes.
trekking, and then, like, I think, yeah, I would also say, like, maybe monsoon is not good, but I think the greenery is awesome,
Yes.
and, like, Nepal brings that,
And
the
the
forest,
clarity as
the
well.
mountains. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah,
You
yeah,
get
yeah,
really clear views.
yeah.
Thank you very much for your time. I know you're going back out again today. Take care. I
Yeah,
hear that there are
thank you. Yeah, I'm
warnings
actually
of
going
off.
to. Yeah, thank you so much, JJ, and thank you for sharing this story. But I think
Yeah.
this Nepal, the story needs to be told, and I think there's not a lot of support Nepal needs at the moment,
Yes.
for this disaster, and the whole international community, and Nepal's neighbor, especially China and India, are coming together for the
Yeah.
support, which is good. So, yeah, thank you for
Yeah.
telling the story.
Well, take care.